for help. You'll know you succeeded when you sit down with someone who can help you. What if people don't respond well? Most people will respond better than you think. But if someone doesn't react the way you're hoping they will, don't be sidelined. Move on to someone else. We want to be able to rely on the people we love to be there for us, says Doy, Dior. But not everyone in your life is going to respond in the right way. If someone doesn't seem to understand, it also doesn't mean that they'll never understand. Sometimes people just need a little time. Building your team. A support system means having people you can rely on in different ways. A friend might be a good accepting listener. A parent might be a good backup for tough decisions. A mental health professional is key to getting treatment, but it's good to have multiple people you can confide in, says Dr. Howard. We do well when we have a diverse support system. Some other things to consider: beware of too much um, commemoration, commemoration, sorry. Finding people who are doing through similar things can be a huge help, says Dr. Howard. But she warns that surrounding yourself with people who are constantly commiserating can often end up working against your recovery. You have to be really careful to look for a support system that isn't encouraging unhealthy behaviors. Find your safe space. When you're seeking support, look for communities that can speak to your identity in a holistic way. Not all communities are safe or beneficial for all people, says Doy. You may find a mental health group that offers one kind of support, but it might not be a positive space if you're LGBTQ or a person of color. Avoid people who make you feel worse. Tune into how you feel after conversations. If if you need to know that you're important to decide who you want to talk about it and how much. Know your audience. Being selective about who you talk to will help you stay in control of the conversation. It shouldn't be a thoughtful selection that you planned ahead for, says Dr. Howard. For example, if you wanted to let some of your classmates know that what you're feeling, opening up during a full class discussion might not be appropriate. Instead, try asking the people you want to tell out to lunch. Don't overshare. Being honest and open about your mental health is important, but it's not an all or nothing situation. It shouldn't be the focus of conversation, notes Dr. Howard. Helping others. Just talking about mental health issues, even to one person, helps bust stigma. And Jose notes, you may be surprised to find that you're actually helping others. When you speak up, you're not only giving yourself a chance to get better, you may you may know unknowingly be paving the way for someone who's still waiting to find their voice. Safety first. Talking about mental illness is a process, but sometimes there are situations when you need to find help right away. If you're in a crisis, don't wait. Your safety is the most important thing. Tell a parent, counselor, or teacher immediately if you are suicidal or having thoughts of suicide, afraid of causing harm to yourself or others. Now, give me 1 second because I want to be able to tell you what that telephone number is, and I'm not sure which packet that I originally had it in, but if I can't find it, then I will. I know that I had it just before I came up. You know what? I'll have to find it after because I don't know what I had done. Oh, here it is. I got it. I apologize. Um, Call a suicide hotline number in the United States. Obviously, you can call 911 here in the US. But you can also call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273 TALK, or 1-800-273-8255. That phone number for the Suicide Prevention Lifeline is at 1-800-273-8255 here in the United States. Okay, now let me get back to this. You can also reach the Chris text line by texting home to 741-741. Again, Chris text line, CHISIS text line, by texting home, HOME, to 741-741, or call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, again at 1-800-273-8255, or go to your local emergency room. So there is a lot of stuff in there. There's anxiety disorders, there's mood disorders, there's psychosis disorders, eating disorders, impulse control. Just so you know, people with impulse control disorders are unable to resist urges or impulses to perform acts that could be harmful to themselves or others. Pyromania, starting fires, kleptomania, stealing, and compulsive gambling are examples of impulse control disorders. Alcohol and drugs are common objects of addictions. Often people with these disorders become so involved with the objects of their addiction that they begin to ignore the responsibilities and relationships. Now, if you also have personality disorders, what that is people with personality disorders have extreme and inflexible personality traits that are distressing to the person and or cause problems in work, school, or social relationships. In addition, the person's patterns of thinking and behavior significantly differ from the expectations of society and are so rigid that they interfere with the person's normal functioning. Examples include antisocial personality disorders, obsessive compulsive personality disorders, histrionic personality disorders, schizoid personality disorder, and paranoid disorder. And I just got one or two more to read, and then we'll open up. I'll go to my hosts first. But first, can't speak. Obsessive compulsive disorder, known as OCD. People with OCD are plagued by constant thoughts of fear that cause them to perform certain rituals or routine. The disturbing thoughts are called obsessions, and the rituals are called compulsions. An example is a person with an unreasonable fear of germs who constantly washes their hands. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a condition that can develop following a traumatic and or terrifying event, such as sexual or physical assault, the unexpected death of a loved one, or a natural disaster. People with PTSD often have lasting and frightening thoughts and memories of the event and tend to be emotionally numb. Now, there was another, and of course, the sexual and gender disorder, those are included, affect sexual desire, performance, and behavior, sexual dysfunction, gender identity disorder, and paraphilies are examples of sexual gender disorders. Tic disorders. People with tic disorders may make sounds or display non-purposeful body movements that are repeated, quick, sudden, and or uncontrollable. Sounds that are made involuntary are called vocal tics. Tourette syndrome is an example of a tic disorder. Other diseases or conditions, including various sleep-related problems and many forms of dementia, including Alzheimer's disease, are sometimes classified as mental illness because they involve the brain. So, having said that, I'm going to open up the room, like I said, but I'm going to go to my two hosts first, and it's always ladies before gentlemen. Tanya, if you have anything that you'd like to interject or share, now would be a great time. Tanya?
Hey, I'm here. I was sitting the other one looking at this live stream just to make sure it's okay. Sorry, I had to leave. I had to leave my studio. So no, I think you when we talk about mental illness, you're gonna see such a big changes nowadays compared to when we were younger. There wasn't so much noises going on, right? There's no internet. There's no video games. I think video games were starting to come out when I was younger, but I wasn't really into it. And we all went out and play. We all did all kind of stuff. So we were always busy. We never had time to think about anything really. But and now here we are in the 21st century, 2021, and and most people give their kid a tablet or a phone to babysit them. So what they see in front of them, what they're holding, the tablet, the technology is wonderful. But if you just give technology to children without teaching them what's wrong, what's right, could cause a lot of problem. And so again, I would feel that if children are born a clean slate, what they become is not. It's really just what the environment is about, and also how the parents talk to them. You know, if a child makes a mistake, do you sit there and say, "You stupid. You're just stupid. You don't know what you're doing," or do you just say, "Honey, might not be good this time around, but you can try it again and keep trying." There's like so many different ways you can talk to a child, especially if he's diagnosed with ADHD or any of the other issue. And again, we didn't have ADHD when I was a kid. I didn't even know what that was. It took me forever actually to realize what it was. And even when my kid was born, we didn't have any of that type of thing. And again, it was much simpler back then. We didn't have an internet, so I always feel that when so much information and so much things given to someone, if they're not explained and talked and cared for, they're gonna just grow up, accepting things a certain way. So I think conversation about mental illness is so important, and take responsibility for your child instead of trying to say, hey, let's here's a tablet, play on the tablet. I'll watch a movie. I'll be right back. That kind of thing. And because believe it or not, children after a certain age, you're gonna want to be near your children, and they just too busy for you. So I always think about that when I think about how grown up my son is, and that I feel the phone, texting and all this stuff is a hindrance. And so I try to like spend more time with him and talk to him on the phone more than just texting. So when it comes, and my kid, I've always have told him, like, you can do anything you want, and if you can't do it right away the first time, that's okay. You keep trying until you get good at it and you're comfortable. You might try something else. But no one is perfect. You're not born perfect. In a sense that you're able to do all these different skills. It's taught, and it's up to the parent to do that. So those are my thoughts when it comes to children with mental illness, and I think parents need to spend more time. Make sure put it on the schedule. We have a schedule for everything. Why can't we schedule time to play with our children instead of giving them a laptop or a computer or a phone? And then I feel like parents today have the internet babysit their children.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you on what you said. When I grew up, we didn't have ADD or ADHD or half of the terminology in the early 60s and 70s. But as you know, things evolve in the sense that doctors find out different things because we know psychology is the study of the human mind. And so what they thought 30 years ago has changed dramatically on how they treat certain uh, situations with people who have mental health problems. And that's okay too. They give you a pill or psychotherapy where you just talk, and that's important. Chris, you have anything you want to share before I ask Hums if she'd like to come up and say anything?
No, I don't have anything more to add. Thanks, though.
Okay, Hums, if you'd like to come up, if you want to share anything, just hit the 100 button on your thing, and Chris or Tanya or myself will let you up. But in the interim, while she's thinking whether she wants to come up or not, I just find it fascinating on how people talk to their children. Tanya brought out a good point. Do you say to them, "Are you stupid?" or "Honey," when you berate somebody and you use harsh words like "stupid," it hurts their feelings because you're the parent and they look up to you and they really want to please you. Okay, just because they love you. So we've all, as a parent, made our mistakes. The idea is to learn from it so we don't repeat it. The idea is to be able to share the information so that other parents don't repeat the mistake. So, I I just want everybody to know that 1 in 5 U.S. adults experiences mental illness each year. 1 in 20 U.S. adults experience serious mental illness each year. 1 in 6 U.S. youth aged 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. 50% of all lifetime mental illnesses begin by age 14 and 75% by age 24. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 34. You are not alone. 20.6% of US adults experienced mental illness in 2019, which would be 51.5 million people. This represents 1 in 5 adults. 5.2% of US adults experienced serious mental illness in 2019, which is 13.1 million people. This represents 1 in 20 adults. 16.5 or 16.5% of US youth aged 6 to 17 experienced a mental health disorder in 2016, which is 7.7 million people. 3.8% of the United States adults experienced a co-occurring substance use disorder and mental illness in 2019, which is 9.5 million people. Annual prevalence of mental illness among U.S. adults by demographic group would be like, for example, non-Hispanic Asians, 14.4%, non-Hispanic white, 22.2%, non-Hispanic Black or African American, 17.3%, and the list goes on and on. But mental health care matters. Again, 44.8% of U.S. adults with mental illness received treatment in 2019. 65.5% of U.S. adults with serious mental illness received treatment in 2019. 50.6% of U.S. youth aged 6 to 17 with a mental health disorder received treatment in 2016. The average daily between onset of mental illness symptoms and treatment is 11 years. Annual treatment rates among U.S. adults with any mental illness by demographics: male 36.8, female 49.7%, lesbian, gay, or bisexual 49.2%, non-Hispanic Asian 23.3, non-Hispanic white 50.3, non-Hispanic Black or African American 32.9, non-Hispanic mixed multicultural 43.0, Hispanic or Latino 33.9. 10.9% of U.S. adults with mental illness had no insurance coverage in 2019, and that's sad. 11.9 of the U.S. adults with serious mental illness had, 55% of U.S. countries do not have a single practicing psychiatrist. The ripple effect on mental illness for a person, people with depression have a 40% higher risk of developing cardiovascular and metabolic diseases than the general population. People with serious mental illness are nearly twice as likely to develop these conditions. 18.4% of U.S. adults with mental illness also experienced a substance use disorder in 2019, which is 9.5 million individuals. And it goes on. In the family, at least 8.4 million people in the U.S. Provide care to an adult with a mental or emotional health issue. And it goes on. It talks about community, and suicide is 2%, a second rather. So there's a lot there.
Did you know that a story just published two days ago is they're calling Children's Mental Health declared national emergency. Rady's Children's Hospital has seen a 25% increase in mental health visits to its emergency room since the pandemic began. So I mean, we're not even touching about the pandemic, but what that is causing, but they already see such a high rate of mental health illness already in before the pandemic, and now with that you're looking at an increase. And so according to this story, it's saying that pediatricians across the country are sounding the alarm about children's mental health. In San Diego, Rady's Children's Hospital is reporting a 25% increase in ER visits during the pandemic, with kids suffering from depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. That is really scary. They say they're predicting this is gonna affect children for decades.
Yeah, and I'm surprised. I mean, people have left the room, and that's okay. At least you guys are here. We try to that. There's a reason I believe the government wants mental health issues to be discussed among everybody, is so that people realize there's no stigma. There shouldn't be a stigma. It's okay to go and get treatment. It's breaking it. And by the way, just for the record, the statistics I shared were from NAMI, which stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Mental Health by the Numbers. That was the name of the article that I got off of the internet. And I told you the other one I used was Child Mind Institute, and I also got off of the internet. So I just want that stated for the record because it's being recorded, and I don't want anybody to think that anybody in my room plagiarizes that are a host, and that's something we never do. So, I feel bad for parents if they don't really have a real relationship with their children. Like you said, they just fluff them off. They play a computer game or go outside, play basketball, or just leave me alone. I'm busy right now. Those are wrong attitudes. I agree with you. You should schedule time in to be able to play with your children. And if they're adults, you can make time to go out to perhaps get something to eat. Maybe you want to go and watch a movie somewhere. Maybe you just want to go for a walk. Maybe you want to go swimming. Well, you can here in Florida. It's almost like summer, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But yeah, we get our cold spells too and our rain. But overall, we can still swim outdoors too. But those who are up in like Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and the colder states here in the winter, unless you have an indoor pool, I don't think you want to go outside and swim because it's kind of chilly. But the reason why I said before about the parents and the children not having a relationship, that child could grow up having a mental illness, and it could be very detrimental to him in life socially because it was never nipped when he was a kid. And that's the major difference. And as I shared from the article out of the Child Mind Institute, we know that teenagers, they're still developing their skills, and that if they don't get the help that they need, it can affect them later on in life. So that's a reiteration of what I had, of what, they said, I said. You know what I mean? So, Nerdum, welcome. If you want to make a comment, we're talking about mental health and how to talk to our children. We just read articles on it as well as other things. You just press on your mic, and either Tanya or Chris will let you up, or myself. Doesn't matter. But in any case, I think it's so important. Like when my children were little, I can remember Kathy and I always sitting down and making time for our children, especially when they're little like that, because we are their greatest example. We are what they absorb like a sponge. And so are you. Depending upon how you act, they absorb it, good or bad. So if you're acting badly, they see it. They may end up turning out the way you would not want them to do. So what kind of examples as a mom or dad or a legal guardian are you setting for your children? Do you talk to your children, say at lunchtime or during the summer, or if it's the winter months, they have school? I don't know, some are in school and some are homeschooled. But you as a parent, what are you teaching your children? What are you telling your children? Are you reinforcing that you love them? Do you verbalize it? Do you hug them? Do you give them a kiss? It doesn't matter how old they are. They're your family. Or are you a cold family where you don't show emotions? I know families that are like that. They believe they love each other, and I believe that they do, but they're depriving themselves of the physical contact that brings about a much better emotional bonding between you and your family, your children, and your children with you. Some parents, they they make verbal corrections and they're afraid to spank their child. Now, I'm not talking about spanking your child in an abusive way, because if you spank your child in an abusive way, you deserve a pair of handcuffs on you and thrown into jail. And your spouse will raise them while you're away. That would be a stupid thing. That's something that the children see. Are you selling illicit drugs out of your house and you got small children? They think of it as normal. What are you feeding these children's brains with? It's just not a good thing to do. Why not give them an apple or a plum or a nectarine or an orange or whatever fruit they like? Give them healthy things. Where does it say you have to constantly give your child or children junk food, which is not good for them? We all eat it, including me. I'm not bashing junk food. I'd be a hypocrite if I said don't give them that, because I do. But I'm saying, is that their main source of diet during the day between meals? Is just junk food, pretzels, and well, pretzels is actually okay with the salt content in moderation. But your potato chips, your popcorn, your candy bars, uh, where's the nutrition? You know what I mean? I'm just trying to, you want your mind healthy, but you also want your body healthy. They go hand in hand. A healthy mind helps keep a healthy body, unless you destroy it by smoking cigarettes and other foolish things. Different if it's medical marijuana, obviously I have no problem with it because it's medical, signed off by a doctor, and they prescribe it. Anything that's legal, I just don't have a problem with. It's the
So
illicit stuff that makes it worse. Oh, good.
we're talking about food. So there's a story that was published a couple of weeks ago. Medical News Today is, I follow them quite a bit. It's a medical journal, and they do a lot of different things, and they're very pretty much updated. They were saying this one article is called "Eating Fruit and Vegetables Associated with Children's Mental Well-Being." Multiple factors influence mental well-being, including nutrition. A recent study found that eating more fruits and vegetables was linked to better mental well-being among children. On the other hand, children who skip meals were more likely to have lower well-being scores. So food is a very important aspect of mental health, well-being of children.
Oh, absolutely. Nutrition is vital. That's where they get their vitamins and nutrients and everything else
Feed
that
their
they need
brain.
to
They
feed them
gotta
in.
feed their brain.
Yep.
Good food, feed the brain, and I think that's the key too. I mean, like you eat healthy food, clean food. Clean. You're outside. You play with your children. You make time. If you're busy, even if you're a busy schedule, you make an appointment just like you do, because you got to make time, because and time goes quick, and you can't get it back. So if your child gets older and you miss all that time with your child, and especially the developing years, that makes a huge difference when your child. So when your child feels love, he feels unstoppable. I mean, he can do anything, and that's the whole goal of being a parent. Because no matter what your childhood is like, we all want our children to have a good childhood. So I think raising a lot of awareness, having this conversation about mental health for kids and lifestyle. The lifestyle is important. You don't need to be wealthy, rich to sit there and show how great food you can eat, right? That food, healthy food is made for rich people, right? Which is it's so untrue, because I grew up poor and we ate really well because we ate out of the backyard. We ate what we grew, but the important part is just even taking in like 15 minutes, 10 minutes just to make dinner together or talk to each other during dinner makes a huge difference in the connection with the children. Because if the moment that you let the child feel it's okay not to tell you about their day, the moment that you say that their day, their information, their time is not as important as what you're trying to, do, as far as getting on social media, doing your stuff, and you're not giving time for your children, and then you wonder why your kids have a certain way. So connection is the key. That's so important for children, also. Because I think connection is like with the pandemic, children aren't around each other. They just get to see each other on screen, and then to them that's connection and what they know of, and they're gonna have a hard time, but hopefully this will go away and we can have be more connected, spending more time together. But if they don't spend time with their children and they expect the TV, the computer, or the cell phone or the tablet to be the babysitter, and they don't want to talk and find out what's going on in their child's life, and then when the child gets older, you question why that child doesn't is not connecting, is not telling you anything, is behaving badly because it's listening to other people outside the household instead of being part of a family. And it's not work, it's just it's called life. It's what that's why I always think about people who don't they don't see it like that. They see it as more as a chore instead of as a this is the best time of my life, this is my connection, my kid is a child, I get to enjoy him or her. And like I said, eating food, what you feed them is important. I mean, I remember feeding my kid a little, those Happy Meals, once a week, that type of deal. I mean, that wasn't his dinner. Once in a blue, I mean, it's like maybe once a week. It's like once in a blue moon, because he was very much into like eating grapes and apples and peaches and all the different kind of things that all the vegetable he wants, he can have all day long, whatever he wants. But I always made sure that he ate, and we didn't sit around and eat a big box of cookies, right, or a big bag of potato chips or anything. My his nutrition habit was, if you're hungry, eat some grapes, grab an apple, eat a bowl of cherry. Eat some carrots. I don't, I feel that's the problem. We all are into junk food and, eating quick and fast just to get that comfort food. But if we have that problem because our parents let us eat a certain thing, if we did the same thing with our children, I always think about how is my child going to grow up to be like. So my son and I tell him all the time. I have a whole conversation with him. I would rather you drink at home with your friends. You guys could, I don't want you to drink and drive. I would rather you tell me, talk to me about what's going on than me finding out, and sometimes children believe that it's easier to apologize than it is to ask. So, and, I think people do that too, but I think, spending time with your children, talking to what's the important part. But if you spend your whole time worrying about what you look like or doing this or doing that, and you're worrying about what other people are saying about whatever you're doing, that are focusing on the family unit, then, they say you sow what you get, right? What you put in is what you get out. So that's the same thing with your children.
What you sow, you reap.
Yeah, that's it. I forgot about the reap part. I always forget. But yeah, so I feel that the children, your child is what you spend time with them for, and I like children, and I always remember you were a child at one time.
I was a child. I can't believe that. No.
I know we all were a child.
Yeah, I
Right.
just wanted to mention something too that you said I want to touch that was touched on about food eating. What you don't want to do, especially when they're already thin, or even if they're not, you don't want to berate them as a parent and say, you're kind of heavy or fat. You don't really want that. That's what helps trigger people into becoming anorexic and have bulimia as well, where they put their finger down their throat to throw up everything. That's sick. It's a sickness. It's a mental illness, but it was caused by emotional, traumatic events. The cruelty of the words is how that person received it, versus it may be said as like a joke or not really meant. Just it should never have been said. That it was disgusting to say that. You don't want to be belittling your own children. Why would you do that? What are you thinking? I mean, that's
Well, I think that
not you. I
you know
don't
what they
mean
say,
you.
right? No, I know, but I'm just saying that what they say about parents and children, about their children. Whatever your parent was like, you tend to become like that.
Right, but you
So
need
you
to
try to
change that
be
pattern.
aware of that.
But right, but they need to change the
Exactly.
pattern. If because you love your children unconditionally, right? Wouldn't you, as a parent, be willing to change for their sake? I know I would, and I believe all of you who are parents would too. Okay, but that's the first thing. You don't want to mock them. You don't want to make fun of them. Okay, good nutritional things are always good, but yes, we're always going to have our junk food. You're not going to stop that. Even I have the junk food too. That doesn't make it right, but I'm being honest. Um, so some people, because they think they're overweight, instead of eating, even if they're not bulimic or anything else, they still may try to starve themselves by not eating. So and for those and there are people who come from dysfunctional families, meaning separations and divorce. So if you're a school teacher and you notice somebody acting out, it's okay for you to approach that person too individually and say, "Hey, I noticed that you've been doing this. Is everything okay?" You don't want to go over to him or her like a nut job and scream at him, "Hey, why did you do this?" Blah, 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 blah. You don't want to do that. You may want to, but if it's not that severe, just go over to them and just ask them. I noticed that in class, you were more of a disruption than you were the way you used to be, which was quiet. Is there something that you'd like to talk about? Get it off your chest. I'm always here for you if you want to share it. Or send the person down to the guidance counselor. Now, there is no guarantee that that child is going to open up to that teacher or guidance counselor, but it lets them know, if it's done correctly, that there are adults out there. If they're from a broken home, there are adults out there. What happened to Tanya? I'm approving you, Tanya. I don't know why it's not coming up. Wow. Give me one moment. I have to. Okay, there we go. I just sent you an invite, Tanya. Um, so in any case, if okay,
Leave. So I try to come back.
yeah, okay. Well, you're back now, so that's a good thing. So in any case, getting back to what I was saying, there's no guarantee that the child is going to open up to that teacher or to the counselor. But you know what? It lets that child know that their actions have been seen, that it was addressed hopefully correctly, and that they're there for that he or she can perhaps say to him or herself, "I've got somebody here that may care. Maybe I can trust them enough," and they'll share a little bit at a time just to see the advice that's given them, and hopefully the teacher will give right advice, like whatever the situation calls for, but in a respectful, dignified manner. Don't ever let the child feel berated. Don't try to talk to him or her in front of a group of people, because they're not going to open up. You're just going to embarrass them and make them feel odd. Why would you do that? That even in your home life, if they're living with you, if they're living with the father or just the mother, or even a paternal or maternal grandparent, when you have him or her at home, don't berate them in front of the siblings either. Why would you do that? People with a mental illness have hard times depending upon what their diagnostic thing is. They're not going to think the way we consider the word normal to be. So you have to learn patience. You have to learn love unconditional, and you learn a lot of patience, a lot of that. Chris, would you like to add anything before I ask Tanya again?
Sorry. Yeah, no, I could relate a lot because my father worked and my mother was a stay-at-home mother, and she never um she did a lot of the things that you're talking about are the wrong things to do. Like she did basically all of that. And so yeah, I can relate to like growing up in like not a good environment. And but I was lucky at that I fortunately turned out good. And but there's a lot of people that have that grow up in that situation that I think probably more people turn out bad, and do like destructive things to themselves or others once they're older. Not saying that I haven't made mistakes, but I'm not like a bad person or anything, and I don't intentionally hurt people or anything like that, you know what I mean? So I really thank you for talking about this and helping educate um people out there that may have children today or may want to have children, and hopefully they will learn from this. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm doing laundry, but
Can you come over and do my
hopefully.
laundry? Because I'm doing laundry too. Can you fold it? I'll do the
It
laundry.
took
You can
me
fold
so
it.
many hours to. It took me so many hours. Okay, if you do it, I'll fold it. Yeah. It took me so many hours to like get enough energy just to do it, but no. So you know, shoot, I forgot what I was saying now. Yeah, it's
Having a
really good
conversation about mental illness.
that you're teaching people good ways to raise children with a concern for any kind of mental illness that child may or may not have or may not develop, because that's the thing. You don't know if a child has a mental illness or develops or even you might not even be aware that they're developing a mental illness, so you should always be aware of your behavior and the way that you interact with your children. And yeah, I think oh, did I get cut off? I
Oh,
think
no, I heard you. It was perfect.
okay, I think I pretty much said what I want to say. I just thank you for talking about this. It's very important.
Yeah, thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts. Like I said, this space is strictly on mental health issues, nothing else. We're talking tonight about the children with mental illness, how parents should perhaps approach the child or children. We talked about those who were homeless or from a broken home. Your child looks to you for the example. And if you're always berating them, what kind of personality do you think that they're going to develop? You have the authority to teach them the right way on anything in life. They're going to believe you more than they're going to believe a teacher because you're the parent, especially if they're extremely young. They look to you for everything. You even have to teach your son and daughter how to get diaper trained or toilet trained. There's nothing that the parent doesn't do to set the example on how to do things. The parent has to tell the baby when old enough to comprehend what the name is. Share that this is your right hand and your left hand because they don't know until you, the parent, teach them. So I'm going to go off topic just for a second. Why teach prejudice? Why teach racism? Knock off the hate. Everybody's human. So before I close this out, because it's 7:28, we started at 6:30. I like to do an hour. I don't like the marathons. I know sometimes I go an hour and a half, but it depends on the conversation and the group. Now, before I close, I would like to know if Nerdam or Hums, if you have anything you'd like to comment concerning the subject from tonight, or have a question or want to share your personal testimony, I'm going to just give you a minute or two. You can press on your mic and request the mic, and we'll let you up when you do. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. Mhm. Very good. Okay, Nerdum, please feel free to share. You can share, Nerdum.
Go ahead and unmute your mic, Nerdum.
Yeah, that does help.
Yeah. I told, hi, my name is Nurdan, but people call me Nur. I'm sorry about my heavy
Hello,
accent and broken English. I listen. It is a very very good conversation. Every time I listen to your great host, great teacher. And
Thank you.
yeah, I'm 70 years old, and I have I raised two boys, two sons. Oldest one, 44. Youngest one, 41. I have a seven grandchildren, five girls, two boy. My oldest daughter-in-law, she's American. They were married 20 years. Right now, she's my baby. Like I raise my children, like I give them lot of love. For example, they say, okay, they say we want to this one, junk food. I buy them too much, not little bit, lot. They start hating. They don't give. I don't know. I raise them. They are still today. For example, both of them called me 1 hour talk to the other one talk to, and my daughter-in-law, she's American. She started my oldest granddaughter, 16 years old. She became a 13 years old. She started growing. I saw mother getting a dictator, like let's say, my son getting very aggressive. I told my son, don't tell anything my granddaughter. If you touch my granddaughter, I'm going to come. They moved to Dallas. I live Washington State. And they, I, I keep them like my granddaughters. Right now, one is 16, one is 14, the other twins, 5 years old. They don't go out. They like staying at home. They are so happy, both of them. They are going to school and coming back. I believe you have to not dictate your children. You have to become a friend and mother. And I still I kiss my children when I go to their house. Morning I kiss. I wake up like they are 40, 41, 40, 44 years old. I really appreciate listen to you because I listen everyone. You are a good teacher. You I my suggestion. I'm sorry. My suggestion. You can do this very very often. It is good help to you know children that like next generation. They need love. They need taking care of. All. Children become when they start growing up, become a teenager time, it is really, really dangerous time. We have to keep them that time is safety. If that time they are safe to 3 or 4 years, after they never get that, never get drinking, never get like emotional problem. Thank you. I am sorry about my accent. Thank you very much.
You
Oh no,
don't
you
ever
sound
have
great.
to, you don't ever have to apologize about your accent. Like Tanya just said, you sound great. I understood everything. The people understood it. I'm very excited that you were able to come up and share. It takes bravery to come up and speak. And so congratulations. And, as far as the two that don't like to go out, with COVID, I mean, I don't know what the situation is wherever they are. Maybe they want to stay in. They have a fear that they don't want to they don't want to catch it. So I can understand that. But if they're happy, that's fine. But to self isolate and keep
Sorry,
yourself
sorry.
isolated.
They want to stay at home. They don't want to go. Spend time with friends. I push them. I say, because spend time some your friends. They say no, no, no. We are happy at home. They are happy at home. Reason they don't go out. They are very happy because they have everything. They don't mother father not dictate them. They are free everything. But both girls, it says first 1 year, 2 years, the parents they have a lot of problem. After I have to stop the parents every time I defend my grandchildren, and of course not they face. But my son, he listened to me. My daughter-in-law too. I love my daughter-in-law, oldest daughter-in-law, youngest daughter-in-law. I am from originally Turkey. My relative. I like my oldest daughter-in-law. She's like my heart, my baby. They married 18 years old. My daughter-in-law was 18 years old. My son 21 years old. No, 20. Yeah, no, my daughter-in-law 19. My son 21 years old. They are 22 years. So happy because I
Yeah.
adopted her, my own daughter.
Excuse me. Yeah, okay, I forgot. Where are you? What country are you from? I forgot what you had said.
Yeah, I come from Turkey. Reason I was 47 years old. I want to because Turkey is not good education system. Not like I don't like. I really like American, but like my personality leave America very very happy because exactly which one I need. I find America. My children, I told them, don't worry, I am going to take you out of country and you have to study US or Canada. Anyway, my older son study here. Two, he is one is finance, the other one, yeah, one economist, the other one science, computer science. A younger one, same too. He study England
Yeah,
and
let
work.
me ask you that. Excuse me, I have to interrupt because the subject is on mental health and mental health disorders, and we're dealing with teenagers. I mean, I appreciate the family history with their ages. It gives us a better perspective as to understanding who's doing what and what would be age appropriate, etc. But we're really trying to stay on track. Right now, you're kind of going off into the genealogy of your family, which is great, but we need to try to reset the room to bring it back to how to talk to your adolescent child or grandchild or children.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
I see that. I'm not sure how you say your name. Tetrapalakjuk. I'm sorry for botching that, but if you'd like to add anything concerning the mental illness, mental health, just go ahead and touch on the microphone and we'll let you up. Same thing with you, Julian. I'll give you about a minute. And if not, then I'm going to do final thoughts with Tanya and with Chris, and then we'll close. Okay, you now have the mic. Again, the topic is on mental illness, mental health. People who know or have children, and we're talking about how to maybe make it comfortable for them, and as far as the environment, to be able to speak to you when they need to.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Fatih. My English is beginnish, so I come here for learn English for listen to you. Uh, uh, my name mean tetraplegic, crazy. Tetraplegic is a so while I jumped the sea, I broke my neck. Uh, so after my broke my neck, I don't feel under my neck. This patient name is tetraplegia. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm sorry to hear that you broke your neck.
Yeah.
And you can't feel anything from the neck down. I have a couple of questions, if I might, before you continue. One, if you wouldn't mind, what country are you from? And are you under any kind of, like, did it cause a mental health disorder to you?
I come from Turkey, like Mrs. Nurdan. I want to just listen to your thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. So you're from Turkey, and so not being like having your accident, not being able to feel anything after on your neck. I'm sure that's caused a lot of mental stress on you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
You sound stay strong. You sound great, and look forward to having you come back into spaces again and chat with us. And I'd love to hear your story.
Okay, thanks all things, but I want to
Okay.
just listening. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank
No worries. We're
you so much.
we're getting ready to round up right now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. I will be doing another space. This is what, Monday, so Wednesday night. This Wednesday night at 6:30. I encourage you to please join Tanya and Chris and myself for another mental health awareness. Not really sure what I'm going to bring forth. I mean, I'm sure I'll come up with something. I mean, I have oodles of information that I get off the internet. And again, I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a psychologist or a social worker. I hold no license in the medical field other than CPR and advanced first aid. That's the extent of my training. What I do is I go on into sites like the American Psychiatric Journal or other sites that are professional, like the Mayo Clinic and NIMS and some other sites that are professional and are recognized by the U.S. government for as far as knowing what they're talking about. I reiterate what's on the pages to my audience, and then we open it up for discussion, like I had shared. No one here has a degree. Tanya, Chris, myself, uh, none of us are doctors or nurses or anything else. We're just lay people trying to help people who may have a mental illness and may not know what to do, or there could be people who have mental health disorders that want to share their testimony, and we have had that done from several people, including myself, including Tanya and Chris. So we try to create and maintain a safe space for everybody to be able to speak. Nobody's here to judge you. And when your children, by the way, when your children come and they want to talk to you about what they're going through, especially if they have a mental health issue and you don't really know whether or not it is or isn't, don't judge them and don't make a mental health determination. Bring them to a professional, bring them to a psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, wherever, ask your primary care physician what mental health doctor he or she would recommend for your child or children. And I would go with that. Like I said, we're lay people. We stick in our 2 cents. We're not making any judgment on you or diagnosis on you. We appreciate what you share. And you're going to find that in this space, when people talk, you're going to find we all have a lot of stuff in common. We may not have the same mental health issues, but we may have something similar. And it's a group where we can support each other and help each other. And just like the psychiatric journal says, mental illness is no different than if you had a heart disorder or you had diabetes. They're an illness. And mental health is an illness of the mind that can be treated through psychology and medication and exercise and proper food and diet. Okay, it may not cure you or the individuals, but at least you're getting help. Especially if you have somebody that you're dealing with that's schizophrenic, they basically believe in a lot of things that are delusional. They're not real. And what you don't want to do with somebody like that is become an enabler by agreeing with everything they say. When they say something that is not correct, like I shared last night from what was on the paper, if they think they're being chased by the police, you can always say, well, okay, but I haven't witnessed that occurring, rather than calling him or her nuts. That would be a despicable thing to say, okay, to him or her. You want to encourage them to keep talking, and then you can call a professional yourself without them knowing, because you're the parent, and talk to them and reiterate the conversation. And if the clinician believes that he or she needs some professional help, then by golly, you got your answer. That's how you solve that problem, as to whether or not they need to see a clinician. The clinician may say, well, I need to hear from the child, bring him or her in at such and such a time. You're going to have to pay for it. Hopefully you have insurance. And, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not the government. I'm part of the people, like you are here in the US. Some people are obviously from Turkey. So I appreciate you all stopping in. Tanya, your mic is open. Did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I think again, it was great chat, and I look forward to the next one. But as always, I think I don't think about this, but then because my child is so much older and is a full grown man now, but for the young parents, with having young children, and just take the time, take a moment, spend some time with your children and have a conversation, because mental illness could have happened to a child at a young age. It could be that, genetic. It could be a lot of different things, but the first thing is at least have a conversation, and also, what they say, you are what you eat, right? So if you're giving your child junk food and not giving him healthy food, and you wonder why he's acting out, instead of giving him water, you're getting him Coca-Cola and a burger from a Burger King or a Big Mac. I mean, it's great maybe once in a blue moon, and you really don't have the time to cook, and you feel like they need to get something in their system. Yes, but then taking that time, spending time, maybe have your child be part of the cooking process, have him help you cook,
Tony, can you do
prepare the
me a
food.
favor? Can you also include about the hormones again? I want to include that in every space that I do on mental health, because it's vital. And whether they're in Turkey or here in the United States or anywhere globally, they'll at least have the information. They can take it to whatever country they live in.
Well, I always talk about hormones. I mean, I am not a doctor or a nurse or any, but I'm just going to give you my disclaimer. So I've been in the industry. I worked for a compounding pharmacy in 2003. So I've been doing this since 2003, talking about hormone replacement therapy. I started working for a compounding pharmacy. Then I went on to work, had to start my own company, working with other compounding pharmacy. Then I went to work for the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. So that's where I really got a lot of my education. And then also the Academy A4M is the one that I used to sneak into and go to, because I thought it was, I wanted to learn more. And hormones are the conversation that I love to listen to and talk to, because really, your hormones is made by your adrenal gland makes your hormones also. So is your thyroid. So your body is a machine. And let's say if your thyroid's out of whack and it's not making the sex hormones that you need, your estrogen, and women have 3 different types of estrogen. That's why it's really hard to work on women's hormones. And we need some testosterone also. We need some other stuff. So hormone replacement therapy is so important. But before you do it, you make sure you get your blood work done. Make sure what levels you're missing, you're lacking. Get a doctor to follow up with. Don't do it on your own. Spend time with your doctor. Talk to them about what you're doing, what you're eating, how you're doing it, as far as the time you're using, as far as what are you eating a lot of? Are you eating a lot of soy? Soy converts into estrogen. A lot of estrogen makes you like a little bit emotional and upset. So I remember when I was just eating a whole bunch of I love hummus. Oh my God, I love hummus. If you leave me alone, I could eat a whole container of hummus. But then I just realized I was getting all like emotional for no reason. So again, those little things, it might not seem that big of a deal, but sometimes people feel like they're losing control. They don't feel in control, and they feel erratic, and they feel this, and they think there could be something going on. Go get yourself checked. And nowadays, a lot of psychiatrists are getting their patients checked on their hormones. Even I don't know how the youngest. I think probably we'll have to get a pediatric to talk about this, but I think children, girls especially, should get their hormones checked. That's where they can find out what the issues are, or different things, because something could be out of whack and they don't even know it. 12-year-old, 13, 14, they don't know. And so I think the parents should at least take the time out and go get their hormones checked. I know parents who don't do anything, so if they go get their not just to get a pap smear so the kid can get birth control. I'm not saying that don't give your kids birth control. I'm just saying, like, go get your child, go to a doctor, get blood work done, get everything done, just to make sure where your child is at. Put that in, store the blood work, store just make a file of it. Just kind of like track it, like quantify, as we call it. Quantify what your child is eating. I'll bet you if a parent took that time to just do a spreadsheet on the child's blood work, what kind of medication, what they're eating, all this, they would literally know when the child is going to misbehave or act up. Because everything that they do, when you get a doctor involved and a nutritionist involved, it can make a huge difference. And a lot of people will say, well, I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. But again, reach out to them, because there's a lot of different program that's complementary, and it helps with people, for people who don't, for income wise. So make sure you just do your due diligence. Don't say, oh, I couldn't find it online, and that's why I can't go get my child help, because he's gonna have to deal with it, or she's gonna have to deal with it, because we don't have money and we can't afford it.
Couldn't they ask their
Well,
primary care who does it?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They could ask the doctor and have the doctor refer out. But if they don't have insurance, because not everybody in America have insurance, right? Let's be realistic about that. And back in the day when I was poor, I mean, when we were poor, we just went. We sat there at the clinic all day long, health clinic, and waiting for our turn, because we didn't have money for insurance. So your child's mental health is so important. And so, and having a schedule is the key also. And I'm not a doctor or nurse, but I've been a mother. I've been a parent. I've been around other parents, and I've seen how each child and children tend to behave a certain way. And if you look at the parent and see how much the parent is involved in it, you can either sometimes be too much involved, where the child feels like he's smothered, or not involved at all, and the child can say hi to you and you just don't even look up from your phone. So there got to be a middle ground, right? There got to be some type of like, this is your child, you will never get this time back. So when you get older and you look back and you want to spend time with your child, they just don't want to spend time with you because you didn't connect with them. Those are the things that you should think about.
And that includes you who are separated and or divorced. Why aren't you
Yep.
making time for your children? I never understood that. I don't care if they're living with the mother or the father. You both. Let's say that they're living with the mother. I'm a man. I was divorced. I lived 45 minutes away from where my children lived, so that I knew I would be able to pick them up on my visitation rights. Okay. I have always been involved with my children's life, and that's why I can still call them, because I have a relationship. I didn't break off my relationship because Kathy and I have beef with each other. Had nothing to do with my children. So I didn't want to be a runaway father. I wanted to be involved in every aspect and all of their lives. All three of they're all adult children now, and I have some beautiful grandchildren now. They're all beautiful. So all I'm saying is that there is and it's reversed too. If the child or children are living with the father, why aren't you mothers going and spending time with your children on your visitation days? Now, depending upon the circumstances and situations in the divorce courts, some of you probably may have supervised visitation. If that's the case, don't miss your supervised visitation, because you can prove yourself to him or her who goes there who's the supervisor over it. They can then ask the court to change it, so long as you have changed yourself, and they'll know whether you bluffed it or not. But there's no reason for you not to go unless the court ordered you. I mean, if you're if you're an endangerment to your child or children, the court would be right in stripping you of your parental rights. And I've seen the courts do that in the superior courts. Okay, so I know that hurts, but they have to think about what is in the best interest of the child. You're a full-grown adult. They're interested in that child. So that's what divorce court's all about. If you don't have children, it's between you two. And of course, divorce can create mental stress, mental emotions, mental health, mental issues. Get checked during a divorce. Even if it doesn't last, you could be going through so much stress that it's making your mind think really bizarre stuff, and you're hyper. Please go see a doctor, a professional, a psychiatrist, psychologist. They can give you medication, because it takes about a year from the divorce to kind of mourn it like they were literally dead, even though they're not, on both parties, especially if you were once in love with him or her. And your children can see it. They can see it when and if you do or don't come over, when and how you treat them, and how you talk in front of your children matters a lot. Words are powerful. They create an imagery. Words can hurt somebody's feelings. Words can cause a lot of problems, or words can be very encouraging. Let's make them encouraging, shall we? I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. It's now 5 minutes to 8. Here we did another a little extra, but that's okay because we had people come into the room. Tanya, I know we didn't have that many people. I don't even know how we had.
You have 54 total listeners.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, I'm glad that they came. I've always said whether it's one person or a million people, I don't care. I'm gonna have to make an addendum verbally on that. I would like to see as many people in the room as possible so that they can get an education on mental health and mental health awareness and how to deal with it. It's not me. I'm not a professional, but what I'm reading from.
It probably be a good, for a lot of people just to have that conversation.
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to bottle this stuff up. Like I said, this is a safe space. Please tell your friends about the space. I'm going to be doing it again at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States of America Standard Time. So if anybody would like to come this coming Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., please do join Chris and Tanya. Until then, for goodness sakes, start thinking positive. Start loving your children even more. Try to outbless them. Try to have a godly competition. See who can outdo the other with blessings. What a challenge that is. In other words, a blessing is only that which is good, only that which is going to uplift the person that you're going to prefer above yourself. So having said that, take care, everybody. Thank you, Chris and Tanya, for all of your help, for the speakers and the listeners, and those who listen by way of YouTube through the streaming. I thank you. You're also welcome to come at any time when I have my